A very, very warm welcome to YMS 24 London. How is everybody feeling today? All good? Let's try it just for tradition one more time. Are we feeling good? Awesome. Now, some of you may have noticed that things are looking a little bit different here at YMS today. And it's a big day for two reasons. First off, today we celebrate our 13th YMS here in London. So let's have a big round of applause for our YMS community. So thank you very much. And the second reason why today is so special is because today we host our first event under our fresh new brand, Pion. Now, here at Pion, we enable brands to understand their target audience through deep insight, verification technology, and extensive advertising solutions. We make sure that we keep brands relevant. And the team here at Pion truly live and breathe youth culture. And it's this passion for understanding young people today that gives us the authority to enable us to host YMS, both here in London and New York. Now, to give you a flavour of what the Pion team have been up to over the past couple of months, let's run a quick video to give you a taster of what we've been up to. Thanks.
Yeah, these are big fucking
Great. Thank you. And a big thank you to everybody for supporting us over the past couple of months. We've got such an exciting journey ahead together, and we cannot wait to share it with you. And today really is just the start of our new adventure. Now, on to YMS. Before we crack on with the good stuff, a few pieces of housekeeping. First off, if you've not already, do please log on to the Wi-Fi. The network is YMS London, and the password, you probably guessed it, it's Pion 2024 ! If you've not downloaded the app, please do download the app. Here we'll house the agenda, our masterclass sessions, our breakout tracks, networking, treasure hunts, and so many more other treats in store. So do please download the app. If you're on social, which we hope you are, please use the hashtag YMS London, and the Pion team will comment, like, share, and ensure that we're engaging with all your fantastic content. And finally, a big thank you to our event partners who are all across the venue, ready to say hello and hopefully have some really great conversations with you all. So, that's the housekeeping. Are we all clear? Let's just do this one. Are we all clear? Awesome, awesome. Right, let's kick off today. Now, together towards tomorrow, why have we all come here today? What's brought us all here to the Old Truman Brewery, Brick Lane for YMS? Is it content? Is it networking? Is it self-development? Has your boss forced you to come? There's going to be a number of reasons why we've all gathered here for the next 2 days. And I want to spend just 1 minute speaking to your partner or colleague or stranger on your left or right, just discussing what's brought you here to YMS. So let's spend just 1 minute sharing some anecdotes, okay? Let's go. Fantastic. Let's draw the conversations to a close. Let's draw the conversations to a quick close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okie doke. So hopefully you've been able to share an anecdote as to why you've all come here today. And of course, let's have a few moments of awkwardness. Who is going to offer to stand up, say where they're from, and share to the YMS audience why you joined us today? There could be a prize. Anybody want to volunteer? 3, 2, 1. Listen, do it every year. Nobody volunteers. Come back next year to find out if anybody does. Okie doke. So, let's move on to the good stuff. What's the current landscape of Gen Z today? That's why we're all here. Gen Z are facing unique issues that come up time and time again year on year, but this year we're uncovering some new issues. We've got the climate crisis prevalent in last year's report, and on the forefront of Gen Z's mind, worrying about sustainability. Are brands they're supporting doing the right thing? The cost of living crisis. Our latest report has found that 32% of students want tips on how to save money. They want education on how they can get through the current financial cost of living crisis. New for this year, global conflict. Gen Z are growing up in a world surrounded by war and conflict, both here in Europe and further afield. And an issue that comes up time and time again that we'll be talking about a lot, I'm sure, across the next 2 days, health anxiety. With our panel, 40% of Pion's panel saying that they practice self-care by looking after their mental wellness. Like, what an encouraging sentiment that this generation are doing. So we know what's keeping Gen Z awake at night as an introduction to today's event. But what's important to them? What matters to their hearts? Wellness, diversity, and financial security. With 60% of our panel prioritizing health and life over money and their careers. 85% want to see more diversity in marketing. Now, this stat last year was 97%. So the numbers have come down slightly, but very clear we all have a long way to go. Oops. And finally, 97% of our panel are struggling with the cost of living crisis, more so than people think they actually are. So that's what's important to them. However, Gen Z are the go-getters of the future, an ambitious, exciting cohort of young people, and they remain positive throughout, with 46% of young people today from our panel having high standards for themselves. 75% of Gen Z are at peace with who they are as individuals, what they want in life, where they want to go, and what they're doing. They're at peace with that. What a moment to celebrate, in my own view. And 57% say they want to improve their mental wellness. So over half of Pion's panel are actively seeking out to improve their mental wellness. So hopefully that's given us a snapshot, a flavour of the current landscape of Gen Z, what matters to them and what issues they're facing daily. It's now my absolute pleasure and privilege to be able to showcase with you Pion's latest Youth Trends report. And for this, I'd like to invite my colleague, my very dear friend, and author of the Youth Trends report, Alex, to the stage. So Alex, please come up. Oh my God.
Good morning. How the hell are we doing? Good? Amazing energy in the room this morning. Literally everyone couldn't even stop talking to each other. So it's great to see that. Great to see everyone all gathered here today. And I am thrilled to be going through our Youth Trends report this morning. So for anyone unfamiliar with the Youth Trends report, I can't really imagine my life without this report, but sadly, this report can imagine its life without me. So we've been producing it for the last 7 years, and every year we examine 5 of the biggest trends impacting the lives of young consumers today. This year, we're going to be talking through 4 of the trends in this morning's session. It was our biggest sample size yet, so we had data from 4,000 Gen Zers across the UK and the US. We did multiple focus groups, and then of course we had some insights from some of the best in the industry, some of which I believe are sat in the audience today, so welcome. So let's get into it. We're going to be talking about AI, kicking off with the hegemonic influence it's had on the lives of young consumers this year. I'm going to hand over to Rick to talk about travel, IRL, and the experience economy. We're going to talk about nostalgia and why, as a generation, Gen Z have fallen into the grips of stagnation. And then finally, we're going to end the event by answering a question that every marketer is desperate to ask, but maybe a little bit hesitant to articulate, and that is, are Gen Z going to cancel me? So, Let's kick off. Let's talk about AI. So I'm sure that AI will be a huge theme throughout this conference, and rightly so. It feels inescapable in 2024. However, the reality with AI is that it's been around for decades. It's just that generative AI has hit the mainstream in the last year, so it feels like it's inescapable. So we took this to our panel. We asked 4,000 Gen Zers what they thought the biggest trend of 2024 was set to be. Obviously, we've given it away a little bit, but yes, of course, AI came out on top. However, there is a lot of fear-mongering online around AI, leading to a bit of a debate, anxiety versus efficiency. The first thing to note is that Gen Z are the most technologically driven generation yet, so they've never really known a world without technology. As a result, they're not living in the world of AI, they are actively shaping it. They're also getting older, so the oldest members of Gen Z will now have done 2 to 3 years in the workforce. Is this fear-mongering having an effect on them? When it comes to creative processes, maybe. 40% of Gen Z say that AI is a threat to creativity. They also think it might be making us a little bit more antisocial. 34% of Gen Z say that AI is a threat to human connections. However, not all negative. They're being very entrepreneurial and they're harnessing it as a productivity tool. 21% of Gen Z are using AI to secure their future jobs. Again, touched on it earlier, but AI isn't a new concept. It's been in our lives probably more subtly than we first might have assumed. It's been in our lives since we unlocked our phones with Face ID, since we went onto Netflix and trusted it to recommend a new movie, since we asked Alexa to put on a feel-good tune, Volume 7. Young consumers are aware of this, and they're more than happy for AI to be used as a personalization tool. 39% like AI being used to recommend TV shows and movies. 32% like AI being used to recommend songs or playlists. And finally, they're happy for it to guide their purchasing decisions, with 31% appreciating AI being used to personalize their products. However, good news, robots won't be taking over human connections anytime soon. Does anyone recognize this image? No one? Okay, so for those who are further to the back, for those at the front, you might be able to decipher this. This isn't an actual person, this is an avatar. And this was an avatar that was used by Levi's in a campaign they did recently, and they got a lot of backlash. And it wasn't about using a virtual avatar. We know the virtual influencers have been around for a long time. It was because they used this virtual avatar to supplement their diversity credentials. So a spokesperson basically said, we're excited about a world where consumers can see models from all ethnicities, all races, all shapes and sizes. And people were a bit outraged by that. As Rick touched upon earlier, 85% of Gen Z want to see more diverse representation in marketing. This isn't the way forward, and it begs ethical questions. How long before these computer-generated identities take away jobs from people in real-life minorities? And that was something that we saw reflected in our data. So 1 in 3 of Gen Z feel negatively about virtual influencers. So what does this mean for you as marketers? Gen Z might be worried about the future of AI, but they are adapting quickly, and your brand should be too. So realistically, in most organizations, C-suite authorities aren't Gen Z. If you're a Gen Z C-suite in the audience, I applaud you. That's amazing. But those at the top of the organizations will likely be older. You will need to adapt in order to keep up. You need to innovate at the pace of culture. Secondly, robots won't be taking over humans when it comes to social connections anytime soon. We've seen that Gen Z enjoy AI being used as a productivity tool. They're using it to personalize their products. But when it comes to, as we saw in the Levi's example, robots in the place of humans, they're very skeptical. It's not going to come without backlash. Finally, Gen Z aren't living in the world of AI. They are actively shaping it. You will need to keep up. You'll need to improvise. They're early adapters of what's now been dubbed the latest technological revolution, the others of which boomers and millennials will have lived through. So brands must keep up, keep going, and keep innovating.
Thanks, Alex. The next chapter in the Youth Trends Report, travel, IRL, and the experience economy. Young people have grown up during a global pandemic. They've got a narrow view on what it means to be social. And now it's time that they experience life that the world has to offer for them, not just stuck inside their homes. We know this is a digital native generation, navigating their world through apps and the gamification, if you will, of life. But viewing content online isn't passive anymore. They're using this content online and running with it to experience all that life has to offer. Gen Z, yes, they're gaining inspiration online, but they're putting this inspiration to good use by experiencing fantastic experiences that will enrich the lives that they have. Our Youth Trends Report has found there's been a 410% increase in travel content online. Seeing what they view and planning trips to get out into the world to experience all that life has to offer. Gen Z are a generation that want to travel. think Gen Z live online, it's time that we all that we think again. 72% of our panel want to travel this year. They want to pack up and go, get out and experience something new. And really exciting, I absolutely love this, 42% of our panel at Pion are happy to travel alone. They know what they want, they know where they want to go, they've seen where they want to go, and they're happy to go on their own, an independent cohort of young people. Now, despite tough economic situations that we've touched upon already, that I'm sure will be talked about later on in the conference as well, they're prioritizing moments of fun with their friends and family above financial restraints, with 54% of our panel saying they would spend outside of their budget for a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Yes, times are hard financially, but if the experience is right, they're happy to potentially blow their budget. 63% of Gen Z say that presence is more important than cost. Living in the moment, seizing the moment is more important than cost. And finally, 54% want to have a great experience. However, they still want good value for money. They still want that bargain. They still want that discount. So yes, they've got some cash. They're happy to part with it, but they want to make sure that it's still good value. Now, a popular trend, the Come Travel With Me videos, are inspiring a generation on TikTok. And we've got a quick clip here of one of our Come Travel With Me videos. Let's have a quick look.
Travel with me to Croatia, but rest of the all-inclusive holidays is Rob next, so let's go. I'm so traveling to the airport today because my friend is meeting me out there and had to take his bag. He was a big tank in this one. To put bags of bag drop and then my way to security, and security was doing like a trial area. It just take nothing out, so that was the easiest security I've ever done. Then I went book shopping, which is something I haven't done generally since I was 16. Of course, I got the number one bestseller because of my basic bitch. Had a free flight prep salad, which proceeded to make me almost shit myself on the flight, which is great. Made it onto the plane, and knowing why I've left England as soon as it starts to get sunny again, I'm so pissed. Regardless, after listening to the whole Becky Hill discography, we landed in Croatia. I was at like 5 p.m. so I was exhausted.
Great. So just a bit of an example there of the Come Travel With Me videos. They're inspiring a generation to go traveling. Anybody want to go to Croatia, potentially? And what does this mean for us all here today? Well, Gen Z are overlooking Google. They're going straight to TikTok for that visual video experience. 82% of our Pion panel trust content they see online to inspire them and to give them ideas. So if we're creating this content online, let's be very mindful that Gen Z are running with it. It will influence their purchasing habits and they will trust what they see, with 80% of our panel really putting a lot of faith into the video content that they're viewing to inform their travel habits. Now, the next topic, Alex.
Come back up for this.
Yeah, ran away.
Let's talk about nostalgia. So we've got Gen Z shooting on film. Vinyl records have now reached their highest level of sales since 1990. We've got grandma core poised to be one of the biggest aesthetic trends of 2024. Flip phones are now apparently back in vogue. What does this mean? Before we get into it, we're going to do a bit of an exercise. So I want everyone to close their eyes for just 10 seconds and have a think. And imagine that you've had a really bad day. And you're going to come home, it's raining outside, you put on a comfy pair of pajamas and you get into bed. What are you going to switch on to watch? Now, if anyone would like to be brave and put their hand up, I would love to hear a couple of answers. Yes. Friends, amazing. Anyone else? Yes? Bridesmaids, amazing.
When Harry Met Sally?
Oh, great choice. Great choice. All great choices. Okay,
Alex, what's yours?
Harry Potter is mine. I said this in New York as well, and I felt like that really didn't help with the British stereotype over there, but okay, why have we done this exercise? So 9 out of 10 times when we think about comfort and we think about comfort movies, we associate this with wanting to feel safe. When did we feel the most safe and the most protected from all the doom and gloom in the world? In our childhoods. This is relating into how Gen Z are living their lives. So like Rick said, Gen Z are living through really tough times. They've got war raging across the world, new technological advancements, a cost of living crisis that is affecting everyone. And as a result, they're anxious. 87% of Gen Z are feeling anxious about their future. So to counter this, they're turning back. But to turn back, they're also going forward because they're going onto their devices. So if you look on TikTok, searches for nostalgia have reached 354 million in the last year. How are we seeing this manifest? So in a couple of really crucial ways. The first way is through identity and fashion. So we're sharing one clicker.
So sorry. I was doing really well.
So 94% of Gen Z are interested in 90s and Y2K fashion. Spending habits and purchasing power. 43% of Gen Z will shop with a brand that they find comforting. And really interestingly, new hobbies such as crocheting and arts and crafts. Personal anecdote, I've recently taken up journaling, and I love it because I feel like getting pen to paper is just so much more relieving than just typing my angry messages into a notes app. But we're seeing this really emanate with Gen Z. Arts and crafts are now just as popular as bar and club nights out for Gen Z in the UK in 2024, which is an insane statistic. Brands are also harnessing this. So we've got this concept called nostalgia. So nostalgia combines the past with the present, and it allows brands to rework their legacies with modern updates. So one great example is from Abercrombie & Fitch. When I was at school, growing up, Abercrombie & Fitch was the epitome of cool, like it just was. And I think it was the epitome of cool because it felt really exclusive. Like you would go into the store, it was dark, it always smelled really good, they had the models. However, they also had a bunch of controversies and public opinion changed. And as a result, sales dipped. However, I know we've got Abercrombie in the room somewhere, so I'm not coming for you. There's a positive spin on this. They're back in 2024. They've completely revamped. How have they done this? They've done it with a Gen Z focus. So they've embraced inclusivity. They've started featuring diverse models, stocking larger sizes. If anyone's been into an Abercrombie store recently, it will bear no memory of those cologne-infused spaces that I remember when I was growing up. This is a quote from one of our panelists. It's like suddenly Abercrombie became cool again. And on the topic of pivoting and controversies, it leads us really nicely to our final trend of the morning. So I'm going to hand back over to Rick.
Thanks, Alex. Gen activists, the cancel culture debate. Brands and people realizing they can be cancelled overnight with one wrong tweet or X or TikTok or so on and so forth. Making a wrong move, of course, it can be critical for any brand if they get cancelled and eradicated from the minds of Gen Z. This is a quote from one of our focus groups for the Youth Trends Report. Woke has been thrown around so much that it feels meaningless. Young people are considered social activists, but to what extent is this actually true? Is this just a stereotype that we've put upon them over the past couple of years? So we took these questions to our panel here at Pion, and the results weren't as expected, with this quote being direct from the report. I'll just repeat that. Woke has been thrown around so much that it now feels meaningless. Woke now has the type of connotations that Gen Z don't necessarily want to be associated with. Despite actually meeting the criteria for the definition, woke is now associated with being anti-freedom of speech to young people today. And as a result, young consumers disassociated themselves from the term. Oh, goodness. With our panel, 67% of Gen Z who do not consider themselves woke actually meet the criteria from when we went out to survey with them. So 67% of Gen Z who do not consider themselves woke actually are meeting the criteria. So they're turning against this definition. Our 2024 data shows that 34% of young people don't care if a brand doesn't share the same beliefs and issues. They will still purchase from them if the value is right. That's 34%. And 48% would not consider themselves woke. So just under half of our panel actually don't consider themselves this term that we're very much pushing upon them. And finally, 46% of Gen Z, so just under half of Gen Z, would consider uncancelling a brand if they took the correct steps and actions to rectify their mistakes, if they're actively showing goodwill to make sure that they're doing good on any mistake the brand may have made. So they are more forgiving than potentially we give them credit for.
So a lot of data to unpack there, and interesting data, like very surprising. I think you spoke about AI earlier. If you went into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to tell you who Gen Z are, ChatGPT is probably going to tell you that they're the change makers of tomorrow and they're activists and they're really eco-conscious. However, we've done the research, that just isn't the case. We don't want to start the whole conference on a bad note. We shouldn't lose hope. Gen Z do have a level of activism. Social media is driving a huge amount of that. So 31% of them say that social media has heightened their awareness on things like health rights. 39% say that social media has influenced their awareness on social issues. And 35% say that social media has influenced how they learn about war and conflict. So they're obviously going online, they're discovering new things, but maybe that relationship with social media is a little bit more nuanced than we might think. It might not be leading to sort of deep, sustained activism. So what does this mean for brands? Ultimately, mistakes cost money. Anyone who's been on LinkedIn in the last 2 weeks or just read the news has probably heard about the faux pas that Bumble had recently. So in case you didn't know, dating app usage has declined massively for young consumers, and Bumble have revamped. They've now allowed men to message women, and they released a bunch of billboards. This one that's displayed on here, you know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer. However, little did they know that for many young people, a vow of celibacy was the answer, especially for young women, where the movement's been really well documented on TikTok. And they completely missed the mark. But as a result, they took accountability. So they made a charity donation, the CEO released a statement, they released a blanket apology, and they probably will bounce back. As we saw in the data, Gen Z will uncancel a brand if a brand does something wrong. One misdemeanor will not lose you the purchasing power of an entire generation. Ultimately, understanding your audience has never been more important. I know that we kicked off asking you why you'd come to YMS today. I really want everyone to just think about that. Remember that generations aren't monolithic. There is so much diversity that sits within that, especially looking at the data around Gen Z and cancel culture. So yeah, would really encourage you to challenge your preconceptions, have a new conversation, and get involved.
Thanks. And the full Youth Trends Report is available on the Pion stand, also through the Pion website to download today for everyone here. So that concludes our first session of this morning's YMS. And before I step off, I just want to encourage everybody here in this building, in this room, to attend a session that's maybe your biggest challenge in the workplace right now, to speak to somebody that you've never met before and have a conversation to spark new ideas. Young people today, more than ever, need to know that they have a voice and that the brands of today are hearing that voice. And we are so fortunate that everyone here in this room, to some degree, has the power to make a change to that young person's life, to make sure that they understand that they're being heard by us all here. So I encourage you to take what you're learning today and put it into action tomorrow. A big thank you for joining us here at Pion for YMS. Have a great 2 days, and hand over to Alex. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.